When we're hungry physically, we eat food. When we're hungry mentally, we ask questions: who, what, when, where, why. When we're hungry emotionally, we get love, or we give love. We receive love, or we get love, right? But when we're hungry spiritually, we fast. And by fasting, what happens is that sometimes our mind tries to be in control. Our heart tries to be in control. Our mind is so powerful it can con you, as a matter of fact. It can make you believe things are there when they're not. Your heart can con you as well. It can make you feel like you have love or hate or jealousy or inadequacies when it's not really there. Or your body can con you too. Just like I'm saying, you might think that I might starve if I don't eat for 4 days or drink water. But I did that, and some people do it 7 days. So your body's stronger than we know. And so because we're off balance sometimes, maybe we're thinking too much mind, too much emotion, too much physical, we get off balance. And so the elders wanted me to do this fast so that when I came out, my spirit would lead. And if my spirit was leading, my heart would follow in a sacred way, my mind would follow in a sacred way, and my body would follow in a sacred way.
I remember walking into a place, and sometimes I'm the only one, and I'm asking myself, why am I here? What am I doing? The mental state at that time, I forget about even what I'm there to do, is very important. Microaggression is something that is becoming more and more, and we see it everywhere. That needs to be addressed, especially when it even comes to our youth. I remember my boys, I have 3 boys. That's why mental health is important to me. My son goes to a private school, came home, and told me, Mom, someone called me Uru Cookie. I'm like, what's that? Well, I'm black outside and white inside. What does that mean? What's that doing to my son? We need to have a conversation. He didn't feel like going back to school. Right? These are all stress, anxiety that creates issues for our kids. Then we talk about language and culture. We have a different culture. Sometimes, especially those of us who've had kids here, they are struggling to know where they belong. The culture differences are key.
The most distressed texters were those that experienced racism and discrimination, second only to those who feared imminent harm in their own home, and the most likely to talk about suicide. So if anyone says, oh, how bad can it be? We all know that racism is alive and well in Canada. We know it's impacting our young people. We know that young people, well, Kids Help Phone sees kids as young as 5 through to about 28 every day, sees virtually. And they're in our workforce. And if they're not working, those in the workforce have young people in their lives. Is the future of the world is to get at mental health and get at racism and discrimination. It's epidemic levels. So thank you for including youth in this conversation today.
When we think about preventative mental health in the workplace, like 20 years ago, what would you do? You'd walk into HR and you'd get a pamphlet. That's a marginalizing experience in and of itself. And we work in a lot of construction companies, manufacturing groups, oil and gas. I would say these are high stigma environments.
Talked about sleep. We take it for granted. So many of us,
You should be worried if you don't get a good night's sleep. If you go through a week or 2 weeks without waking up and then never getting back to sleep, never getting into that REM sleep. When we're in that REM sleep, the 4 hours of deep sleep, that's when our brain is replenished. That's when the serotonin goes back up into the brain. That's when we throw out all the trash that our brain collected during the day that we really don't need to hang on to. So there's a lot that goes on, a repair and cleaning while we're in our deep sleep. So it's essential. If you don't, go and see your doctor right away if you're not sleeping. Don't think of it as something light. There's very good sleep aids that are not sleeping, that don't drug you, but just work on your brain with turning off the wake-sleep cycle. That maybe you need that for a while to get yourself. When you've had a good night's sleep, don't you just feel great? I mean, I do. And when I don't, I never not get a good night's sleep. Now, thank you for your question.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The thing that kind of got me to raise my own awareness about mental health around journalists, and I mean, it's a big topic right now around some of the, the harm, online harm with journalists, and the things that a lot of organizations are doing to try and help support journalists, especially with the mental health aspect of the work and the stress that goes with the work, some of the PTSD that comes along with it. But when I first started as a journalist, I didn't really understand the impacts of covering some stories until I had to cover the Paul Bernardo case. I was a crime reporter back in 1995 when that case came on. A lot of the stuff we couldn't report because there's a ban on the courts on what we could publish or put in the papers, but we had to see that stuff every day, see the videotapes and see the evidence. And you kind of go through it and you think, wow, it's an amazing opportunity to cover this trial. But, over a period of time, and that trial lasted a few months, and it was, and we'd seen stuff before that, you realize that it's really hard to look at that stuff and unsee it.
Well, it never goes away.
Yeah, like you can't unsee it. And it wasn't until I started covering some other crime stories when I realized the impact that covering that case had just on me personally.
Yeah.
And I have a very good friend who works at CBC, a guy named Dave Seglins. And me and him got to talking when I started working at CBC, and I know he has gone through some of his own challenges covering stories that have been really hard to cover. He did a lot of stuff with the police and a lot of the intimidation tactics the police did against him, and really made him really fearful about doing his job. And we had a real good talk, and we realized that we were damaged people,
Yeah.
and we didn't realize at the time. And kudos to Dave Seglins. He's doing a lot of work at CBC right now to help support journalists.
Notice how you feel in your heart. And then notice how you feel in your energy field. And I want you to open your eyes. How do you feel? What if self-love is a missing piece to solving the mental health crisis?
Melissa, just checking in. What company are you with, and what were your thoughts of the event?
Yeah, so Melissa Murphy, I'm the Director of Talent Management with the University of Alberta. The event has been really great. It's been great to see a bunch of different perspectives, a number of people with diverse backgrounds. That has been excellent to hear from today.
Thank you so much. Will you be back next year?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Melissa. Donovan, I'm just checking in to see what are your thoughts of this year's WODIL 2023?
The conference has been fantastic. This is my third year. We've set a new level. It's just been absolutely fantastic all around.
Will you be back next year?
It's in Calgary next year, so hell yes.
Thank you so much, Donovan. It's so good to see you again.
Okay.
Take care.